to quickly remind everyone about the rules we need to follow. So microphones and cameras of all viewers will be kept turned off during the event. We will only allow speakers to keep their cameras and microphones turned on. So my name is James Rossi and I'll be your host for today's event. I would also like to give a brief description of what Tech Italia is for those who do not know. It is a community which was created in 2016 as a local meetup to give an opportunity and to help IT professionals create networks and spread knowledge. We then started organising virtual events in 2019, which allowed us to bring in knowledge from all over the world. There are currently more than 1,250 members from different sectors such as development, project management, design and marketing. And we organise an average of 2 events a month. So I would like to introduce you to Nabil, who will quickly talk to you about his community. And Nabil, can you hear us? Are you with us?
Yep, I'm definitely with you. Thank you very much, James. Hello, everyone. Yeah, as James said, we are thrilled to collaborate on this meetup event. So Agnostic Agile and Tech Italia have combined forces here. I just want to start by apologizing because for the Agnostic Agile audience, I did a bit of a rookie mistake with the time zone, because obviously this meetup is being originally hosted in Italian time, and I didn't account for that when I scheduled it for my London-based meetup. I can see a few familiar faces from the AA audience, so that's a good sign, but I'm hoping they'll trickle in as they finish work, because it's still during working hours here for people in London, which is where most of our audience is from. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes giving you a quick introduction of what Agnostic Agile is. So we're a meetup group, but Agnostic Agile is also a global movement in the Agile industry. It essentially came about to counter some of the common themes we were seeing in the Agile industry, which is where people were being very dogmatic about certain frameworks and certain approaches. The examples I can give is Scrum. We should be using Scrum everywhere, or regardless of context, let's just switch everyone to a scaled Agile framework, so SAFe. And that's not really what Agile is about, according to us at least, and hopefully many of you. It's very much about context. It's very much not one size fits all, but taking the needs and considerations of your client and an organization into account and determining what the best approach is for that specific context. So Agnostic Agile is essentially a set of 12 principles that we as Agnostic Agilers try to adhere to, and they're all around lovely things like listening to the client and doing what's in their best interests, putting the customer first rather than putting a framework first. So it's centered on the principle of being agnostic and adapting to the environment and trying to do the right thing rather than just dogmatically promote a certain framework because it's familiar or because it's popular, because that would be doing our clients a disservice. So what I'm going to do, I don't have any slides for you, but I'm going to share the link to the Agnostic Agile website there. And the movement was founded by people like Ari van Benneken, who's obviously the co-author of the Agile Manifesto, along with 3 other individuals. So collectively, they came together, they wrote these principles. Obviously, Ari's got a lot of experience writing principles and values, so he's pretty good at drafting them. And they said that these are the principles that we think Agilists should try to adhere to in order to make sure that they're agnostic in their approach to clients and organizations. So please do check out the website. There's a little button to pledge, which is just a symbolic reference to say that you agree to these principles. And yeah, the meetup, we host events to create an informed community of Agilists. So I can give you guys a link to the Agnostic Agile meetup as well, event as well. All of our events are online now as well. Hopefully we'll be able to partner with Tech Italia again in the future. So you guys can very much see what events we have going on over there. which will hopefully, create an informed view so that when you're in the next situation, deciding what approach you need to do, you can think, what's the best toolkit in my box, rather than just going with one certain framework as an example. So that's a quick intro from me. You've got the link. Now I'm going to hand over to Chiara, who is our keynote speaker of this evening and who's going to, take over.
Hi.
So handing over to Chiara.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Let me share my screen. So let me know if you see it.
Yes, we can see it fine.
Okay, so let's start. Let me introduce myself. I'm Chiara Faralli, and I'm a project manager. I have worked in Sintra since 2016, and I started to use Agile for 2.5 years. Today, I'm gonna show you some tips about Lean and Agile methodologies, and I will try to answer to the question, do Agile and Lean can be friends or not? So, Lean or Agile? It's very difficult to say which method is better, because it's like comparing apples with bananas, a friend told me. Each method has its strengths, but also weaknesses, and it's necessary to take a deeper look at which are the most characteristic aspects of both. So let's start to have a quick overview of these two methods. So you are familiar with this guy? This guy is Taiichi Ohno. He created the Toyota production system in the 50s because he was this manager who works obviously in the Toyota company in Japan, and he has the goal to reduce inventory costs and improve efficiency in his company. He took inspiration from grocery store inventory and came up with the system, the TPS. This system used visual signs to indicate the precise items needed by inventory in the specific moment of production. After this great idea, he came up with the key principle of Lean methodology. And those are demand-driven production, working small lots, quality management, the system concept, and the Kaizen. 50 years later, Mary and Tom Poppendick adapted the principles from Taiichi Ohno for software development world. And on 2003, they introduced new principle of Lean philosophy. And those are eliminate waste, build quality in, create knowledge, defer commitment, deliver fast, respect people, and optimize the whole. So what we can learn from a Lean perspective? It's about doing more with less and being as efficient as possible with the resources available. Now I would like to move on to Agile. So a little quick overview also for Agile. But before that, I would like to remember how computer programmers used to work in the 80s and in the 90s, maybe even today, but let's say stuck in the 80s and 90s. They were using methods taken from manufacturing industry, such as the waterfall system. And waterfall system has its typical phases. First, you have to collect requirement, then you have to do design, after implementation, testing, the delivery, and obviously the maintenance step. But what was the problem? These people spend months or even years after developing one single product, and only after they finish it, they realize that the software had already become outdated by the time it hit the market. So they probably continue to work in the same way until something new came up on 2001. And this is the Agile Manifesto for Software Development. This manifesto was created in 2001 in Utah by a bunch of, let's call them, software rebels. And this is a sort of declaration of independence for the coding set, in which the purpose is to put individuals and interactions over tools and process, working software over a comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. We can also try to summarize some of the main principles of Agile method, like customer satisfaction is the top priority. Do not be afraid of changes. Frequent deliveries means more feedback. Daily face-to-face conversation is really better. Self-organized teams, continuous attention to technical excellence, and KISS. Keep it simple, ... So everyone knows that one swallow doesn't make a summer, and these 7 are only the tip of the iceberg, because not every project that follows this principle can be considered agile. What makes a project really agile is the perfect mix of management and technical practices, such as, for example, if you can mix Scrum with Kanban board, with continuous deployment, with testing and retrospective moments, and especially how we can use all these tools in a real software development project. Now I'd like to highlight some of the differences between Agile and Lean, and try to focus on the process optimization and the timing approach. In Agile, we can see that we kind of try to work every time on a new product. Rework is positive, and we accept changes, and we can accept also to waste some time. We work on small teams, and we are based on constant feedback and open communication. On the other hand, we have Lean, who tends to work in a default or standard product, in which rework is negative. We don't have to accept waste, because waste is a waste of money, obviously, of time, of resources. And it's about not only for small team, but it's about organization's culture. And we try to push all feedback only at the delivery of the project, not before. And when it comes to the timing approach, it's about having frequently deliver, because we work in managing small part of the flow through the sprints of the iteration, and we collect obviously this feedback from client, while Lean try to manage the entire flow and deliver the entire work just in time. So Agile is about delivering something new and unique every time, something that has never been done before. Lean is about delivering the same thing every time, just as always. But Agile and Lean are very similar too. So we can see that small size matter for both. In fact, working on small part of the workflow or doing multiple versions of the single finished product always pays off. Culture of improvement is also very important, because both Lean and Agile methodologies are based on continuous improvement. For Lean, we have the so-called Kaizen. For Agile, we have reviews and retrospective moments. Another similarity between Lean and Agile is the focus on employee cooperation. So in both methodologies, people are more important than the tools they use and are responsible of what they decide to do. And finally, when it comes to customer value, nothing is more important than the result of creating value for the customer. And this represents the one and only goal of the entire development process. So, after all I've shown you, I'm asking, is it possible to put these two different methods together? So I did some research and find out a possible tip. We can start for the three main phases of Agile iteration. So we have the planning, we have the execution, and the delivery. And we can try to map what could be the typical workflow of this Agile iteration and add to it some Lean techniques. So let's start with the planning. And in this phase, you obviously have to create the product backlog, because you have to collect requirement, even the first requirement, and you have to do iteration planning. So in this phase, we can add some Lean principles that could be useful, and those are specify value, And it means identify the real value for the stakeholders or the client, help us to represent all customers' needs in the backlog. Quality sourcing means that the Agile team only select the tasks in which the requirements are clear for the next iteration. Satisfying needs tell us that production tasks only depends on the customer demand, and empower the team, like in Lean. Agile team can and has to make decisions and has direct responsibility for what happened in the production stream. If we move to the core phase of Agile, the execution, we have daily meeting and the work, the work done. And in this phase, we can add some methods borrowed from Lean, and those are identify waste, based on the idea of anything that does not produce value for the customer is waste and it should be removed. Agile strongly embraces this aspect, and during the iteration, the team will work only on what is important for the customer, because the rest will be useless. Doing vision management is really important too, because using visual tools like Kanban board will help the team to have a quick overview of the current state and make better choices for the iteration to come. And organize the workplace means that we can increase the efficiency of a whole organization, starting from a single team that works closely together. And Agile obviously embraces this principle with the idea of having structured team with a very specific roles, even if we are dozens of people. And finally, the deliver part. So in here, we have review with stakeholders, retrospective moments with the team, and even the delivery of potential product or project. And in this last phase, we have the principle of understanding value for customer. And like above, it means that the purpose is always try to find the best way to satisfy the customer and his needs. And last one, amplify learning, which is my favorite. Both Agile and Lean encourage constant technical and methodological learning at all levels of the organization. And Agile also add this concept of retrospective as an iteration ceremony focused on the growth of the team. So, as you can see, the similarity are many, and Agile seems to have a lot in common with Lean, which leads us to say that in the world of software development, it's practically impossible to talk about Agile without mentioning Lean. And to do this, the key to success, for me, is to bring the idea of change throughout the organization and carefully choose which part of these two methodologies you need the most in your project. And this is, I think, something that people need to understand for themselves, because it also depends on the organization you are in and on the type of project you need to develop. So guys, I guess that's all. I would like to thank you all for your attention. And I think now it's time to move on to the other speakers.
Yeah,